Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, we're coming out swinging with huge news, and we're talking about Nintendo 3DS emulation with Panda 3DS, and Panda 3DS just got a massive update. So at the time of filming, Panda 3DS Christmas 2024 edition is the latest update. And they say here, after a long while, it's time for a new release. The changelog is enormous. And they're not joking here. There is a whole lot in this changelog, but going over things at a high level here, there's a whole bunch of improvements, bug fixes, and brand new features. They say they've got a mostly complete HLE audio, which is great for, well, audio. They say it includes support for AAC audio, other goodies such as the ability to boost audio volume above 100%. And if you're on Android, you'll probably be excited to hear that there's much better performance on Android, comfortably running full speed on a lot of phones. For the desktop edition, the user interface got a brand new look and feel here. There's a new configuration menu with most emulator settings and UI configuration settings. Support for translations, cheats UI, scripting UI, ROM patching UI, and even more. The Qt front end now supports controllers. They've added support for motion controls on desktop and on Android. If you use RetroArch, there's now a Panda 3DS core. There's been GPU emulation improvements here to reduce resources and improve performance. I mean, they say they fixed various rendering issues and crashes. There's now fog emulation and proper lighting emulation. There's more fixes and more improvements and even more. This is a massive update for Panda 3DS. Panda 3DS is 100% free. It's open source. It's available for Windows, Mac, Linux, and Android. And for those wondering, no, Panda 3DS is not a fork of Citra. It's its own thing here. Panda 3DS, in my opinion, is one to watch out for if you're interested in the 3DS emulation scene. And speaking about emulators to watch out for, next up we're talking about PS4 emulation with Shad PS4. And Shad PS4 just got a brand new update as well. So at the time of filming, Shad PS4 version 0.5.0, codenamed Squid Wars, is the latest update. This one contains a bunch of improvements and fixes and contains those improvements we've been showcasing in previous videos. According to the Shad PS4 Discord, it appears that Sekiro Shadows Die Twice as well as Armored Core 6 are booting. Not playable, but at the same time booting. Now, if you are curious about Shad PS4 and what games work and what games don't, I do recommend checking out their GitHub and their compatibility tracker. However, if you wanted to see games in action, I recommend visiting their Discord and checking out their showcase thread. They've got a lot of testers on here. Again, like everything I talk about, link will be in the description below right at the bottom. Next up, we're talking about SRB2. If you're unaware, SRB2 stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano, or Sonic Robo Blast 2, depending on how you wanted to interpret that. Anyways, this was a fan game that was released back in, I think, 2009. It was built on the Doom engine, and it has just been ported, or is in the process of being ported, to the Sega 32X. If you are curious about this fan game and wanted to learn more about it, there's a 20-minute YouTube video showcasing a whole bunch of gameplay here, along with some very important links. And they say try it yourself on real NTSC hardware or Kega Fusion. They say here that Sonic Robo Blast 32X is an unofficial port of the fan game Sonic Robo Blast 2 to the Sega Genesis 32X, spearheaded by the retired co-creator of SRB2 and the founder of Sonic ROM hacking scene, Saxman. Now, this is a current work in progress. It's not completed just yet. It's a complete rewrite, and they say it's provided the opportunity to make some bold changes, such as a completely new control scheme, player abilities, and level design changes. And it does work on real hardware, but there's still a lot of work to do, and the intention is to have the entire game ported to cartridge. But moving on, and next up we're talking about Xbox 360 emulation with Xenia Manager. For those who may not be aware, Xenia Manager is a tool designed to simplify the use of Xenia Emulator. It aims to make playing games and installing specific game patches more straightforward and user-friendly, while also providing an easy-to-use interface for adjusting Xenia settings. And Xenia Manager just got a big update to version 2.0. Now, at the time of filming, version 2.0 is not the latest update. There are some experimental builds here, but at the same time, the latest stable update is version 2.0. So with this brand new update, there's a bunch of improvements, bug fixes, and optimizations. For example, here there's a resizable main window. They've reworked per game configuration, compatibility icons toggle, automatic save backups. and they've optimized setting support with up to 86 games supported. On top of that, they've added in full support for Xenia Mousehook. There's a brand new search bar, and there's also the content viewer that's been updated to support Xenia profiles. This is a very big update for Xenia Manager. If you use Xenia and you're confused about settings and setting things up, you may want to check out Xenia Manager and learn more about it. Moving on, and we're heading back to the Sega Genesis, just not the 32X part, and talking about Batman Returns on the Sega Mega Drive and Genesis. Now, this game is up on itch.io, and a demo is now available. Now, they say here, we made this tech demo to test out various concepts and fulfill a dream I had as a teenager, to receive a port of Batman Returns for my favorite console. We don't intend to finish the game, but the good results we got here will be used in future projects. Furthermore, the demo was not made to ridicule the SNES version, but rather to show the Mega Drive can handle a beat-em-up with technical and graphical quality very well. Even though it lacks in some aspects, it excels in others, making it a great platform for this type of game. We also wanted to explore the power of the machine in ASM. If you are curious about this one, you can head over to their itch.io page to learn more about it, or check out their very interesting YouTube trailer. I don't know about you, but I find this stuff super neat. It's really neat to see what could have been. And speaking about what could have been, next up here we're talking about Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite and Beyond. Now, we've talked about this game in a couple of previous videos, and well, years ago when it initially released. Anyways, here, if you weren't aware, they did release a fan mod for this game called Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite and Beyond. It's a mod for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Anyways, here, in my opinion, this is what the game should have initially looked like and should have initially been. And if we take a look at the Steam DB charts for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, it appears that, well, I am not wrong with that line of thinking. This game has got more attention in the last few days than it has in over 6 years. So according to Steam DB, when Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite initially launched, it had 3,603 people playing at the exact same time, its all-time high. And that was back in 2017. And just recently, it's bumped up again to 1,322. Not as much as when it initially launched, which is completely understandable. A lot of people were excited about this game. At the same time, for a game as old as this one, seeing a huge bump like this, going from something like 60 to 70 people playing at the same time to 1,300 people playing at the same time is massive. In fact, this fan mod, this 100% free fan mod has been so impactful to the game. Taking a look over on Steam here, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite has gone from an overall mixed reviews to very recently very positive. Go figure. I mean, heading down to the recent reviews, and this person says, this game absolutely sucks base game-wise, but getting the free and Beyond mod by a dedicated team of fans, including the figurehead Maximilian dude, yes, the fighting game YouTuber, and so many of his friends. This is the game that Capcom should have made. Now Capcom, make Marvel vs. Capcom vs. SNK, you cowards. MVCI is currently 80% off and, well, less than $10. If you've got this game, if you've got the N Beyond mod, let everyone know your thoughts about it in the comments below and whether or not you'd recommend picking up this game on sale to play with the mod. Does the mod make the game worth playing? But moving on, and next up we're talking about Fortnite, and there seems to be a recent Fortnite controversy surrounding Master Chief. So here is the latest tweet from Fortnite. The matte black style for the Master Chief is no longer unlockable. This style is limited to players who purchased the outfit and played on an Xbox Series X and S prior to December 2024. The problem with this one is that it seems to directly contradict their post beforehand, which was back in December of 2020. Owners of the Master Chief outfit, you'll unlock the matte black style if you play a match on Xbox Series X and S at any point in the future. There is no time limit for unlocking this style. But checking out the recent tweet, and well, it seems there was a time limit, 4 years. This is, I don't play Fortnite, so whatever, but at the same time, for people who do, for people who purchased the Master Chief who hadn't had a chance yet to play on an Xbox Series X and S to unlock the skin, that kind of sucks. Next up, we're talking about Saints Row 4, and if you're a fan of the game, if you're a fan of the franchise, you may be excited or not excited to know that Saints Row 4 source code has been leaked on 4chan. This is completely unverified at this point in time, but it seems like it may be real. So we'll have to wait and see moving forward to, well, see if anything comes of this source leak, if anything materializes as a result of this source code leak. But let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below, and let me know your thoughts about the whole Saints Row series. And speaking about source code leaks and also 4chan, next up we're talking about Cave Story, and it appears that Cave Story source code has also leaked. Now I don't know about you, but I'm a big fan of Cave Story. I've purchased the game on multiple storefronts. I think it's a fantastic game. I think it is worth checking out. I think it's worth paying for. And I'm very curious to see what's going to happen because of this source code leak. I'm wondering if fan games are going to start spinning up because of it, or what's going to happen here. If you have any predictions, let me know. On a side note here, in terms of paying for it, this game is not really expensive. Right now on Steam, it's on sale for 80% off, and you can pick it up for less than $4. And I really recommend this game. And continuing to talk about leaks, next up we're talking about the next Lenovo Legion Go, or the next series of Lenovo Legion Go's. Now, we've talked about this one in the past, and it is rumored that one of these versions will be running SteamOS. And based on the latest leaks here, it seems that 2 versions will be running Windows and 1 will be running SteamOS. This information comes courtesy of videocards.com, who I guess has you covered for all of the intimate new details, or most of the intimate new details of this new handheld, or this series of new handhelds. So there's going to be 3 different versions here. Unfortunately, the version with SteamOS, I don't have specific details for. So we'll have to wait and see for full details here, and we're not going to have to wait very long at all. CES is just a couple of weeks away. So anyways, there are 3 new versions: the Legion Go 2, the Legion Go S with SteamOS, and the Legion Go S with Windows. I am most interested in seeing what the Legion Go S with SteamOS is going to offer here. But if you are curious, head over to videocards.com for all of the details. Interestingly here, the Legion Go 2 with the detachable controllers will feature an AMD Zen 5 and RDNA 3.5, where the Legion Go S, both the SteamOS and Windows versions, will feature an AMD Zen 3 Plus with RDNA 2. All 3 handhelds appear to be coming out Q1 2025, so January, February, or March. Now, I think there's a detail here that a lot of people will be disappointed in, and that's the display. So the Legion Go 2, I would say the flagship version here, it's got an 8.8-inch display, it's got the detachable controllers, and it will be an OLED display. However, both versions of the Go S, both the SteamOS and Windows versions, will not be OLED. In my opinion here, and feel free to disagree with me, but I think this fuels the fire to the next screen for the Switch 2, or whatever the next Switch is going to be called. I mean, if OLED is not the industry standard for all new handhelds coming out, as we're seeing here, I would say it adds fuel to the fire that the next Switch 2 will also probably not feature an OLED just to keep costs down. I could be wrong. And speaking about keeping costs down and industry standards, next up we're talking about the opposite of that. It's a very interesting keyboard called the Icebreaker. It's made out of solid aluminum. And while I would say it's probably not appealing to a whole lot of people for a number of different reasons. So the Icebreaker is currently up for pre-order, and it is a full metal keyboard milled from a solid block of aluminum, starting at $1,500. This is not cheap at all. Now, I don't know about you, but Android Headline says this resembles a head of an axe, and I would really disagree about that. I don't think this looks like an axe head at all. And I mean, I have a few axes. I would say this really looks like a wedge or possibly just a doorstop. I mean, that's maybe an unflattering take, but at the same time here, $1,500. This is, I can't justify why someone would need something like this. Again, my opinion. Let me know your thoughts about this one. And speaking about stuff that is hard to understand, next up we're talking about the arguably controversial SuperSega FPGA, or SFPGA as it's now referred to. Anyways, here Time Extension is reporting that SuperSega is claiming Sega is totally okay with the FPGA console. So here's the communication from SuperSega Super SPGA. I guess that's what it's now being called. Anyways, they're saying this is the official communication from Sega's legal team. I put official communication in air quotes for a very big reason, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Greetings to whomever of SuperSega's Super SPGA group may concern. We are sorry to have interfered with your gaming console project without providing any evidence of your wrongdoings regarding these ongoing matters. We actually approve of your projects and appreciate your contributions to the gaming community's industries around the whole world. Please understand that some of our legal team employees, associates behind the false takedown request, intentionally made false reports in order to commit crimes in the names of your group members for no reason. Really? But let's move on from that for a second. Please go ahead and continue your projects alongside keeping all of your manufactured units. Please feel free to contact Sega's offices for assistance if you need help regarding your SuperSega Super SPGA console development. Please go ahead and report some of our legal team employees, associates behind these unlawful attacks for misconduct, harassment, etc. Sincerely, Sega Europe Legal Department. I have my doubts based on this entire letter. I don't think this is a legal notice by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think a legal team typed this up. Maybe I'm wrong here, but what on earth is going on? I don't know about you, but in my opinion, this is another giant red flags in the field of red flags, the field with a whole lot of acreage of red flags for this project. I don't know what's going on here. I can't see a legal team ever writing something like this. It doesn't make any sense. But let me know. Lord, don't even let me know. I mean, it is what it is here. Again, like the wedge keyboard, I'm kind of at a loss for words. But if I back this project, I would probably be very quickly looking for my money back if I haven't already. But fortunately, I didn't back this project and I don't intend to. It's just, I don't know what's going on here. This is the weirdest thing I've seen in a while. On a side note here, time extension is, well, they've reached out to Sega, so I'm very curious to see what Sega says and if they validate this. If they validate this, I would be shocked. And, well, we'll have to wait and see moving forward, but I don't think that Sega will validate this email. I could be wrong. But moving on from that, and next up, we're still talking about Sega, and it appears that Sonic Mania just got an unofficial PSP port. And I think people who have a PSP or use PPSSPP may be interested in this brand new port. There's a YouTube video by PSP Maps showing it off. Now, performance on this one looks okay, and they say here gameplay is smooth for the most part. I'm they say except for when you get to catch the UFO, and then it turns into a slideshow. I am very curious about this one moving forward and if they're able to make even more optimizations for it, but I'm impressed that it's working on a PSP. There are a couple of notes here. The person who created this video says the game is not compatible with the PSP 1000 due to lack of enough RAM. And there is no sound implemented. Now, I'm pretty sure we've talked about this one in previous videos, but it seems that progress has been made here, and I'm curious to see what happens moving forward, if development will continue or if that is all we're going to get. And continuing to talk about Sega, next up we're talking about Saturn Bomberman Fight. Now, this game was, surprise, surprise, released for the Sega Saturn back in 1997 and only in Japan. However, this game has just received an English translation. If you are curious about this one and wanted to learn more about it, Sega Saturn Shinshiro has a whole bunch of details about the entire project. They say that this fan-made patch took more than 2 years to finish because everything was an obstacle. So there was obviously a lot of work that went into this one, and it wasn't some sort of simple translation. I am very curious about this game, and I don't remember playing it. Maybe I have in the past and just have forgotten about it. But at the same time here, I may revisit the game because it has been translated to English. And speaking about fan stuff and I guess mods, next up we're talking about New Super Mario Bros. And if you're interested in New Super Mario Bros. As well as a whole bunch of different mods, you may be interested in watching the NHD Holiday Direct. So the NSMBW Hacking Depot Holiday Direct is just a little over 20 minutes in length. And they say it's a presentation of trailers and previews for mods of New Super Mario Bros. Wii and U, which premiered on Christmas Day 2024 and was organized by Miguel and T. Motler and was presented by Nintyler. Now, I could be wrong, but I think this may be a typo because the channel is T. Molter, not T. Motler. Anyways, here it is worth checking out. It's a very interesting showcase. There's links to everything here. And again, like everything I talk about, link is in the description below at the bottom. And speaking about modding, this one kind of came out of nowhere. We're talking about Dragon Ball FighterZ. And if you're a fan of this game, if you're a fan of modding, and if you're a fan of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Dio has been modded into the game, and the results here look fantastic. The mod is up over on Game Banana, and I've got no idea how long the developer of this one took to create it, but the end result here is a lot better than what I would have expected. Honestly, taking a look at it here, I would think that this is real paid DLC. It is really smooth, it's integrated very well, and doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. Well, I guess the character integrated in the DBZ universe kind of does. But I mean, at the same time here, it looks like it fits. Now, I don't know about you, but this is one of the many, many reasons I am a huge fan of game modding. In my opinion, it adds a whole bunch of replayability and a whole different dimension to a whole bunch of different games that, well, I get a lot more enjoyment out of when there's a whole bunch of different mods. This is incredible. And speaking about incredible, next up here, we're talking about Lego Island. And it turns out that the Lego Island decompilation has just hit 100%. The developer has put out a short YouTube video about the project. He's got a link to the GitHub. It's 100% free and open source. And on top of that, this is the 1997 version of the game. I think this is pretty impressive. The developer on this one says even though it's a fully functioning decompilation, there is still a lot of work left to do. And I'm very curious to see what further stuff happens to this project. Overall, I would say this is a big win for decompilation. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Feel free to discuss anything we talked about in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.